This is a short tutorial on the Raptor flowcharting software program. This program was developed by the United States Air Force Academy, and we are going to use it in this class. So let's look at the interface. At the top we have a set of pull-down menus. Under that, a toolbar. Then we have a pane right here labeled symbols, and these are the only symbols that we'll be using for our flowcharts. Directly under that is an area called the watch window, and then this area is the main screen where we actually develop our flowchart. When you open a new flowchart or start Raptor, you will always have your start and your end symbols with the flow arrow pointing down, and you drag all the symbols from the symbol area here onto the flowchart in the proper order, determining the logic. When we start, we always have one procedure known as main, and that's shown here on this tab. As we add subprograms or procedures, different tabs will pop up, allowing us to switch to those various blocks of the flowchart. On the pull-down menus, what you have are the typical menu items. For instance, I can print, I can save, open a file, as well as a list of previously opened file or more recently open. The edit menu does have the common edit functions: cut, copy, and paste, delete, undo, redo. Then we have a scale menu that allows us to change the percentage or the size of the symbols on the flowchart, and I've got it set to 125 right now. And then text, we can view text in different ways. We can also choose the run menu here, and we have different ways that we can run. We can step through it one symbol at a time or execute from start to finish. You can reset the flowchart. The mode is an important menu option because when you first install Raptor, it by default is a novice mode, which allows you to do subcharts that don't allow passing of variable parameters. However, we're going to be operating in intermediate mode because we are going to be passing parameters, and then there's also an object-oriented mode. The ink menu allows us to change the color of the ink so that we can annotate on the flowchart, and then we do have a window menu that allows us to arrange the windows in various order, because there is a second window known as the console window that will pop up when the flowchart is finished, and it will show us our output, and it occasionally pops up when there are errors as well, so it will give you some indication of errors that you might have. There's a generate drop down menu that allows you to convert the code to perhaps C# or C++ or Ada, and then the help menu. A lot of the same tools on the flowchart are right here: new, open, save, cut, copy, paste, print, undo, and redo, and you can use all the Windows shortcut keys if you know those. For instance, undo is Control Z. Then execute to completion, pause, and stop. Then if I am stepping through, I can step to the next shape with this tool. And then this tool actually lets me test it against a server if we were running one, and this is again an ink button that toggles the ink for us. I can use the slider to change the percentage, as well as the drop down here to change the percentage. So we're ready to start our first flowchart, and we're going to start with the assignment block, the rectangle, because what we're going to do in this particular program is to actually create a little program that the user will input two numbers, and then we'll add those two numbers together and store them in a variable called total, and then print the answer. So I'm going to use my mouse to drag this rectangle over and drop it right under the start on the line, and it will tell me to save because it frequently reminds us if we haven't done a save to save. So I'm going to call this one first flowchart. And now I'm ready to actually put the text inside my assignment box. Two ways to do it. One way is double click, and when I double click, it shows me and gives me some examples, but the first variable is going to be called total. So I'm going to be setting the variable total, which is a memory location, and then you can use tab or the mouse to move down to the to box. So I want to set total to 0 so that it starts out with nothing in it. Variables need to be declared. Whether I declare them here or in the input statement, Raptor will let you do it either way, but they must be declared. So the next statement, next logical statement, is the input box. Both input and output are the trapezoids, and the trapezoids represent input and output in all flowcharts. The input one in Raptor, though, does have the arrow on the left side of the box showing going in, and the output trapezoid has the arrow on the right side going out, indicating output going out. So I'm going to drag an input symbol right under total, and because I have that tool selected, and I know I do because it's red over here, I can actually come right under this one, and when the mouse changes to the hand, if I click, it inserts another of the same type. This time I'm going to right click on this one because I can go into edit here, and in this one there's two parts again, but the top part is going to be the text or the prompt for my user. So I'm going to tell the user I want them to enter a number, and that will pop up in a Windows text box so they can see the prompt and have space to enter their value. I want to store the number that the user enters in a variable that I'm going to call num1. And then I can click done or press enter to get out of the box. And sometimes there is a lag between the text showing up in the box, but it is there, and as soon as I start editing this one, the text will appear in the top box. So I'm going to right click and choose edit on this one instead of the double click. And this is for the second number, so I'm going to tell the user enter the second number as the text prompt, and I'm going to store that in a variable called num2. And again, there's a little bit of lag. I want to put a comment up here at the top to tell someone looking at this flowchart what it actually is. So I'm going to right click here and click on comment. Now comments are non-executable statements. They become part of the internal documentation for a flowchart. So I'm just going to type here, this is my first Raptor flowchart. And when I click on done or press enter, it'll show as a little green speech bubble next to the symbol that it's attached to, but it doesn't get executed. So I've got my initialization for total, my declaration here in a process box, then two input boxes that are going to allow me to input num1 and num2, the variables I'm using for those two values. So my next step is now to process. That's an assignment box, and I'm going to drag it down and again double click. And it's asking me what do I want to set. I want to set total. That's where I'm storing the results of adding those two numbers, and I'm using tab to come down here. I want to set total equal to num1 plus num2. So there's my process. Now the last step is to actually output. So I'm going to pull the output symbol down right under the process here and double click. This box is a little different because it does have output text and expression up here. Output expression is the default choice. That means that I can combine text or a label to indicate what I am printing out as well as a variable. If it just is clicked on output text, then I can't print the contents of variables. So since it's a mixture, I have to enclose the actual text in a set of quotes. So I want to label this, tell the user what it is that's printing in my master console. So the sum of the two numbers is, and then I'm going to close the quotes, and I'm going to use a plus sign, and I'm going to start typing total. Also notice as you start typing that you do have some IntelliSense down here, which is a big help if you don't know how to spell correctly, and also it shows you some other things that are available in Raptor. So I'm going to click done, and there is a checkbox here, and it by default has a check mark to end the current line. If you remove that, it means that you can do multiple output statements and it will all print on the same line. So I want to click done there, and there is my output box. So I have all of the steps of all flowcharts right here. I declare and initialize, input, process, output. As I execute the flowchart, you'll see each symbol be highlighted in green, And in the watch window, you'll see the variables listed and the contents of each of those variables. So to start my flowchart, I'm going to come up here and click on Execute to Completion, and it will highlight in green. Here comes total. And now my text box asking me to enter a number. So I'm going to type in the first number here, and you can press enter, click OK. Now the second number, next text box. And then over in the watch window, you can see the values of both num1 and num2 and the total. And here's the console window showing me that the sum of the two numbers is 314. In the console window, you do have a clear button here that clears this screen or this window. These drop-down menus do allow you to change the font size. You can copy from edit, and then there is a help menu. There's a text box down here that you actually can use to make some calculations on the fly, if you will, in the master console. So we're through looking at that. Let me just show you a couple of other things. I mentioned that you can use shortcut keys like Control Z for undo, Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and so on. All of the regular Windows shortcut keys work. If I click a symbol, for instance, I'm going to click on this one, it turns red, indicating it's selected at this point, and I can grab it with my mouse and drag and then put it somewhere else. So I'm going to move it down right here because it won't affect the program. So all I did was drag and drop. I could cut and paste. I can copy and paste. So if I click this one, I could use Control and drag to copy, but if I right click, I can choose copy, and then I can come right here and right click and choose paste. There's a duplicate. I'll come back and choose this one and use the delete key from the keyboard to delete it, or you could right click or go to the edit menu, and I've deleted that one. You can also select a group of symbols by using your mouse to marquee. I'm holding down the left mouse button and dragging that marquee around it. They all turned red, which indicates all of that has been selected, and I can drag and drop those as well or delete them. And I'm going to click away there to deselect it. And here is our basic flowchart and a quick run through of the interface.